When I first started teaching at this vocational secondary school, I felt disheartened. Our institution admits students who couldn't get into high school after graduating from middle school. It's not that I looked down on vocational schools, I just didn't want to work. I was still considering pursuing a master's degree.
If you stay here for a year, complete your internship successfully, and secure a permanent position, I'll transfer you to a more relaxed job where you can continue your studies.
Within just a month of being here, however, someone targeted me, insisting that I, an unmarried woman, should have a child for him. He even threatened that if I didn't comply, I wouldn't get a permanent position. I looked at my canvas bag, t-shirt, and hair tie, all bought at the lowest prices. I thought to myself, I do look pretty cheap. It's obvious that I come from a poor background, and after struggling to get this job, I treat it as my lifeline. Faced with such workplace harassment, I could only act like a timid quail. After the National Day holiday, we tidied up the office. I sold a pile of books, papers, and empty bottles to the recycling collector, holding the 43 yuan I got from it, thinking about buying some fruit for everyone in the office.
Come over here.
He glanced at the change in my hand, a confident smile on his face.
Your job is tough and thankless. I brought over someone else in a similar situation. I think highly of you and could transfer you to a more relaxed department under my charge.
As I was leaving, he stuffed a stack of old newspapers into my arms.
Take these and sell them. Use the money to buy some fruit.
I walked out of his office, holding the newspapers, completely confused. Later, I found out that this was just the beginning of his manipulative tactics. A few days later, his wife stormed into the office, yelling at someone. It turned out that someone had used their body to secure a transfer. What? A series of bizarre events followed, completely shattering my worldview. Did I come across as so weak that he thought I was easy to manipulate? Before I knew it, it was the Mid-Autumn Festival. I had almost forgotten about him when he called me into his office again.
Lock the door.
I thought, is he going to tell me some military secret?
I've got some more old newspapers here. Take them and sell them to improve your meals.
Growing up, my philosophy was always to eat well, even if it meant wearing less.
This thermos is of great quality. You can use nail polish remover to erase the words and give it as a gift for the Mid-Autumn Festival.
Suppressing the urge to throw the cup at his face, I put it back on his desk. Thank you, Vice Principal Smith, but I don't know anyone worthy of this thermos.
A friend of mine opened a steak buffet. I'll take you there tonight. You probably haven't had a buffet before.
Thank you, Principal Smith. I'm sorry, but I have plans tonight.
What are you worried about? No one knows the rules of Western dining the first time. Don't worry, I'll teach you.
Principal Smith, I really don't like steak. Then I turned to leave.
Everyone has a first time. You might love it after trying it once.
I really can't go. If there's nothing else, Vice Principal Smith, I'll be leaving. Planning to endure the year and leave after getting a permanent position, I didn't want to cause trouble, hoping he understood my meaning. But then, the most bizarre thing happened. A steak buffet. Does he think I've never had steak before?
Thank you, Principal Smith. I'm sorry, but I have plans tonight.
Trying to keep things civil, David politely declined. But Michael Smith thought David was playing hard to get.
What are you worried about? No one knows the rules of Western dining the first time. Don't worry, I'll teach you how to use a knife and fork and Western dining etiquette tonight.
Principal Smith, I really don't like steak.
David turned to leave.
Everyone has a first time. You might love it after trying it once. I'll send the electronic coupon to your phone later.
I really can't go. If there's nothing else, Vice Principal Smith, I'll be leaving.
Planning to endure the year and leave after getting a permanent position, David didn't want to cause trouble, hoping Michael understood his meaning. So when Michael sent something to his WeChat later, he ignored it. But then, the most bizarre thing happened. On New Year's Day, the school held a gala. Emily Davis came straight to me and started a confrontation without saying a word.
Homewrecker. Mistress. You think you can just walk away with my husband?
Students gathered to watch, teachers gossiped, and the scene was chaotic. In an instant, I became the despised mistress. At that moment, Michael Smith appeared right on time. Colleagues held back the agitated Emily Davis, while Michael Smith shielded me.
You're embarrassing yourself. What are you causing trouble for? Leave now!
Michael Smith, you jerk. Are you protecting her? This isn't over between us.
I've explained to you, Emily. Ms. Johnson and I are just friends. It's not as scandalous as you think.
Friends? You two are together in the middle of the night? Chatting all night? Do you think I'm an idiot?
When was I ever with Michael Smith in the middle of the night? I avoid him even during the day. But these two didn't give me a chance to speak.
How many times do I have to explain? Ms. Johnson and I both come from an art background. Our interactions are purely on an artistic level, a spiritual and soulful connection.
I had to admit, Michael Smith's attempt to explain only made things worse. He subtly confirmed my role as the homewrecker, and I almost wanted to give him a thumbs up. At this moment, I suddenly didn't want to speak anymore. Because any explanation would be redundant. People are more inclined to believe in scandalous rumors between men and women. Moreover, I underestimated Emily Davis's abilities and the power of public opinion. Within a day, the rumor of my late-night soulful exchanges with Michael Smith spread throughout the entire education system. Michael Smith's previous divorce had already made him a notorious figure. This new scandal only added more fuel to the fire. In today's society, having multiple women around is seen as a man's pride and a symbol of success. But for women, society is far less forgiving. It seems all the blame falls on the woman. As if every unfaithful man is seduced by a woman. So, everyone pointed their fingers at me. Homewrecker, mistress, scum, and other derogatory terms became my labels. When I went to class, there was a big drawing of a green tea bottle on the blackboard. When I went to the cafeteria, students deliberately bumped into me, ignoring the hot soup I was carrying. Someone even posted a caricature of me on the school's bulletin board, with insulting captions. My WeChat received hundreds of friend requests a day, all filled with abusive messages.
Hey, is the rumor about you and Michael Smith true? Emily Davis went to the bureau leaders, but without concrete evidence, the bureau temporarily suppressed the issue.
Thankfully, my dad and mom are not in the education system, or they would be ridiculed. In one day, I felt a deep malice from society that I had never experienced in my 23 years. When I walked into Michael Smith's office, the smug and unrestrained look on his face was something I would never forget.
Ms. Johnson, here to discuss art again?
His tone was filled with a sense of impunity.
Is your face so worthless to you?
I'll explain to others that we have a great love, not that you manipulated me to get a permanent position.
Facing Michael Smith's shamelessness, I couldn't help but laugh.
Are you so confident you can control me?
Now it's a one-strike disqualification for teacher ethics. Besides, what's wrong with being with me? You don't have to give up anything, just be a trophy by my side and maybe have a child. By the way, you're still renting, right? If you're with me, I'll buy you a 2-bedroom apartment.
A 2-bedroom apartment, still an apartment. I couldn't help but laugh. Even the old house my grandpa rented out wasn't that small. Seeing Michael Smith lost in his self-satisfaction, I really wanted to laugh. Such a person, if I didn't personally shatter his illusion of superiority, it would be a disservice to the harm I suffered. So, I played along, deliberately showing a hint of hesitation and indecision.
No rush, you can think about it.
A steak buffet. Does he think I've never had steak before? Thank you, Principal Smith. I'm sorry, but I have plans tonight.
Ring to keep things civil, I politely declined. But Michael Smith thought I was playing hard to get.
What are you worried about? No one knows the rules of Western dining the first time. Don't worry, I'll teach you how to use a knife and fork and Western dining etiquette tonight.
If I still had any hope that Michael Smith had any self-awareness, I would be too naive.
Principal Smith, I really don't like steak. Then I turned to leave.
Everyone has a first time. You might love it after trying it once. I'll send the electronic coupon to your phone later.
I really can't go. If there's nothing else, Vice Principal Smith, I'll be leaving.
Planning to endure the year and leave after getting a permanent position, I didn't want to cause trouble, hoping he understood my meaning. So when he sent something to my WeChat later, I ignored it.
Then the most bizarre thing happened.
The next day, under the pretext of thanking Robert Brown for helping me check the surveillance footage, I invited Michael Smith to a restaurant, saying I wanted to treat him to a meal. Seeing the aged wine on the table and the deliberately flirtatious Jessica Taylor, Robert Brown's eyes lit up. Everyone knew Robert Brown had a weakness for alcohol and women. Sure enough, with Jessica Taylor's help, Michael Smith spilled everything after 3 glasses of wine.
It turned out that Michael Smith had indeed altered his age when he first started working, with the help of Robert Brown's father, who worked in the household registration office at the time.
Let me tell you, only 2 people have access to the girls' dormitory surveillance footage, and I'm one of them.
Who's the other person? How dare they compare to you?
Under Jessica's acting, Robert Brown, with his eyes glazed over from drinking, revealed everything.
Michael Smith. But let me tell you, despite his polished appearance at school, he has to do whatever my aunt says. And let me tell you, he often secretly watches the girls on the surveillance footage, and even rated the most flirtatious ones.
Michael Smith altering his age and spying on the girls' dormitory, either of these would be enough to bring him down. I had recorded everything Robert Brown said, waiting for the right moment. Soon, it was the Lava Festival.
I'll get what you need tonight.
Sure enough, before 9 o'clock, Jessica Taylor hurriedly knocked on our door. Jessica couldn't contain her excitement, quickly ate a few dumplings my parents had made, and dragged me into the room.
Sarah, quickly, see how my acting was. I feel like this was my best performance ever.
Saying this, Jessica took out a memory card and inserted it into the computer with a card reader.
What's this?
My highlight moment. How could I not record it? So I took the memory card from Michael Smith's dash cam.
Impressive.
In the video, Jessica was crying her heart out. If I didn't know better, I would have thought she was genuinely heartbroken.
Michael, I feel so guilty towards Sarah. We've been friends since childhood, and yet. Even if it wasn't Sarah, I would still want to be the woman behind you, but.
Silly girl, love is not a crime. Our feelings are pure and innocent.
No, I'm a shameless mistress. I can't get over this.
Jessica, you shouldn't think like that.
You are the first man I've ever liked. I really want to be with you. If only you weren't Sarah's boyfriend. No, I can't be so selfish. I need to leave and start a new life. I'm going to the provincial capital to find my uncle and never set foot in P City again.
Saying this, the heartbroken Jessica opened the car door to leave.
Jessica, let me tell you, there's nothing between Sarah and me.
What? What did you say?
Michael Smith couldn't let her go. Besides, I had Jessica hint to Michael Smith that her uncle worked in the provincial government.
I said there's nothing between Sarah and me.
Impossible. I know you're lying. Everyone at your workplace thinks you and Sarah are together. And your wife.
Michael Smith hesitated for a moment, then seemed to make a decision.
It's all nonsense from Emily Davis. She's too suspicious. There's nothing between Sarah and me, from beginning to end.
Then the rumors.
Those are all false. Emily Davis is slandering me and Sarah. You can check Sarah's call records if you don't believe me. There's really nothing. Does your uncle really work in the provincial government? What's his name?
Michael Smith was indeed a cunning fox, pushing all the blame onto Emily Davis and keeping himself clean.
My uncle's surname is Clark.
Michael Smith didn't doubt her because there really was a leader with the surname Clark in the provincial government, though he wasn't Jessica's uncle, but mine.
Take me to visit your uncle sometime.
I need some time to process this. Give me some time.
The video ended there. Jessica proudly said,
How was it? Did my acting improve?
I gave her a thumbs up.
Perfect.
So, my mission is complete? I'm flying to Europe tomorrow at 8.
Jessica said, tossing me the phone card I had bought online for Michael Smith. Watching the fireworks someone set off outside the window, Sarah smirked coldly. Michael Smith's year was not going to end well. The next day, she sent a complaint letter to the disciplinary committee about Michael Smith. The letter exposed Michael Smith's misconduct, including falsifying his age and spying on the girls' dormitory. When Sarah was eagerly waiting for Michael Smith to be called in for a talk by the disciplinary committee, she received news that Robert Brown had been fired. On the 16th of the 12th lunar month, the last big meeting of the semester was held. At the meeting, Michael Smith personally announced the school's decision regarding Robert Brown.
The reasons are spying on the girls' dormitory and drinking during work hours, which are serious violations of work discipline, leading to his immediate dismissal.
Sarah was stunned.
I had clearly reported Michael Smith, but it was Robert Brown who got caught in the crossfire.
Although Robert Brown deserved it, this was not the outcome she had hoped for. Michael Smith's move to sacrifice a pawn to save himself was truly cunning. Even if Michael Smith's mother wanted to protect her nephew, she wouldn't jeopardize her son's future. After the meeting, Sarah was left alone by Michael Smith. When Michael Smith started talking, she realized things were far more complicated than she had imagined.
Mr. Johnson, I really have to thank you for helping me get rid of Robert Brown, that ticking time bomb.
Sarah's heart tightened. Michael Smith knew about her report, even though she had done it anonymously.
She didn't know where the leak had occurred, but it made her realize that Michael Smith's connections were not to be underestimated. He had managed to deal with the disciplinary committee.
And the person who leaked the information about the whistleblower was truly despicable.
I don't understand what you're talking about, Principal Smith.
That Robert Brown really bit the hand that fed him, accusing me of falsifying my age in the records. How could the age in the records be changed so easily? Besides, even if he wanted to accuse me, he would need solid evidence. Does he think the disciplinary committee is run by his family?
Talking about the age in the records, Michael Smith seemed confident. Sarah regretted her rashness. One failed attempt had alerted the enemy. Michael Smith must have already erased any traces of his age falsification. It would be even harder to catch him now.
Also, on behalf of the school leadership, I am announcing a decision. Due to your class's annual assessment not meeting the standards, your annual performance bonus and eligibility for awards are revoked. Do not come to work until further notice.
Michael Smith suspended Sarah, revoked her year-end benefits and performance bonus. He even hinted openly and covertly that he would end her teaching career and leave a stain on her record. Michael Smith finally realized that Sarah was not the person John Wilson had said could bring him good fortune, and he stopped harassing her. It was good to tear off the mask. Sarah no longer had to pretend to get along with Michael Smith. But now she was unsure if Michael Smith had discovered that Jessica Taylor was also part of her plan. Because the phone card specifically used to contact Michael Smith had not received any messages from him for several days. Meanwhile, her phone was still bombarded with messages cursing her, and even the battery of her electric scooter had been smashed. She suspected it was Michael Smith's doing. The video Jessica Taylor gave her was meant to clear her name after Michael Smith's downfall, but it was not very useful now. Just when Sarah thought the only way to deal with Michael Smith was to seek help from her father, she suddenly received a phone call. That call instantly reignited her fighting spirit. To her surprise, it was from a department head at the school.
Did you write a letter to the disciplinary committee reporting Michael Smith?
Sarah was speechless. Were some departments so careless about confidentiality? While she was unsure how to respond, he continued.
I'm not Michael Smith's lackey, but his archenemy. Michael Smith has been forming cliques at work and has long been ostracizing me and several colleagues. So I called you to join forces and report Michael Smith again, hoping to consolidate the evidence you have.
It seemed her anonymous report was not entirely in vain. The butterfly effect of her report had stirred those who had long been oppressed by Michael Smith and wanted to take him down. Michael Smith might be able to handle one report with his connections, but multiple large-scale reports would be overwhelming. Although Sarah wanted to teach Michael Smith a lesson, she didn't want to get involved in their political struggle, so she declined, saying she would consider it. On the day before the Lunar New Year, while Sarah was buying dumpling filling at the supermarket, she suddenly received a message from Michael Smith. It was from the phone card Jessica Taylor used to contact Michael Smith.
Jessica, where are you? I have an urgent matter to discuss. Call me back ASAP. Urgent, urgent, urgent.
Looking at the message, 1,000 possibilities flew through my mind. Just as I was hesitating on how to reply, another message from Michael Smith came.
Jessica, the new year is coming soon. I want to visit your uncle. Can you arrange a time?
I didn't respond to him, leaving him hanging to see what would happen next. That afternoon, I received another message from someone who wanted to team up with me against Michael Smith. They had already written a complaint letter and hoped to cooperate with me. Combining this information, I had a bold guess. Michael Smith was in trouble and wanted to use Jessica's uncle to save himself. So, I decided to set a trap. I mimicked Jessica's tone and sent a message to Michael Smith, saying that my uncle would be back for the New Year's Eve dinner, and I would arrange for them to meet. Upon receiving the message, Michael Smith was so excited that he immediately tried to video call me, which I declined. Later, he kept expressing himself on WeChat.
To prevent Jessica from being troubled, I have completely broken up with Sarah. I even claimed that Sarah extorted a large sum of breakup money from me.
This Michael Smith really had no shame. That evening, for the first time, I asked my mom when my uncle would be back for the New Year's dinner.
When will Uncle be back for the New Year's dinner?
You encountered something at work.
How did you know?
We knew it long ago.
From childhood to adulthood, they always respected my privacy. If I didn't say anything, they would never interfere. This time, if I hadn't planned to use my uncle, they wouldn't have intended to get involved. As the saying goes, the older, the wiser.
Report it directly. Let the authorities investigate Michael Smith's personal conduct and improper relationship. not only not to hide it but to investigate it openly and thoroughly.
My dad's exact words were, "The innocent will be proven innocent. Trust the party, trust the government." As for Michael Smith, we could arrange for him to meet my uncle, but not in the way he had planned. Upon hearing about my situation, my uncle returned on the 27th of the lunar month, even before New Year's Eve. I gave Michael Smith the room number of my uncle's hotel. That evening, Michael Smith knocked on my uncle's door. The room looked like an ordinary room, but it was actually a special room set up by the disciplinary committee, filled with cameras, covering every angle. In another room, members of the disciplinary committee were monitoring. When Michael Smith entered and saw my uncle, he was obviously startled. He probably didn't expect that the seemingly ordinary Jessica could have an uncle in the provincial department. Then, Michael Smith's face immediately showed a flattering smile, his obsequious demeanor completely different from his arrogant attitude when bullying me. Michael Smith took out a paper bag of Maui liquor, bending over like an old shrimp. Seeing that my uncle didn't take it, he carefully placed the bag beside the sofa.
Director Clark, hello, I'm Michael Smith.
Michael Smith's face was full of smiles, but before he could finish his polite words, my uncle interrupted.
Principal Smith, I know all about the situation with the child. I only have one niece. Tell me your plan.
I'll divorce immediately and give you an explanation.
Michael Smith thought that Jessica was determined to marry him, and immediately promised to divorce.
I'm talking about your situation with Sarah.
Hearing my uncle mention my name, Michael Smith immediately denied.
I have nothing to do with Ms. Miller. As for the rumors about me and her, they are all false.
My uncle nodded and then looked directly at Michael Smith.
Even if they are rumors, they can still have a bad impact. Late-night chats, soulmates, these things don't come out of nowhere, do they?
Michael Smith was stunned, afraid that his high hopes would be dashed, and quickly patted his chest.
Absolutely not. I can hand over my phone, and you can have the forensic team check it. I have absolutely no relationship with her.
But I heard from Sarah.
Before my uncle could finish, Michael Smith immediately said,
That's her wishful thinking, slandering me. Don't listen to Sarah's nonsense. She's just trying to stir things up because she sees Jessica and me getting along well.
Principal Smith, you are young and promising, with a bright future ahead. I have high hopes for you. Don't let some small matters ruin your career.
Hearing my uncle say this, Michael Smith thought he had gained my uncle's favor and quickly said,
She couldn't stand seeing Jessica and me happy. A few days ago, this Sarah even tried to slander me. If it weren't for my connections, I would have been ruined by her.
Oh, you have connections in the disciplinary committee?
Yes, the leader of the second inspection team, Mr. Sun, is my classmate.
To please my uncle, Michael Smith revealed everything. If Mr. Sun knew he was betrayed by a foolish teammate, he would probably regret it deeply. I have to say, my uncle's presence was too strong, and Michael Smith couldn't use any of his tricks. My uncle nodded and said,
It's better to let the person involved speak.
You mean Sarah?
While Sarah was on standby in the monitoring room, she quickly received a call from Michael Smith.
Sarah Miller, come here immediately. I give you 10 minutes to get here, or you'll never work as a teacher in the system again.
Sarah's dad's face darkened as he listened nearby. He probably didn't expect his precious daughter to be ordered around like this outside. In less than 3 minutes, Sarah appeared in front of Michael Smith. Michael Smith, eager to impress James Anderson, didn't expect Sarah to show up so quickly. He directly pulled her in front of James Anderson.
Director Clark, this is the person involved, Sarah Miller. You can ask her anything.
To be honest, James Anderson's acting wasn't bad either.
Are you Sarah Miller?
Yes.
Teacher Miller, What kind of attitude is this? Is this how you greet your superiors?
Michael Smith, afraid that James Anderson would be angry, scolded her and then turned to give James Anderson a fawning smile.
Principal Smith, you're doing a great job as a leader, aren't you?
Michael Smith thought James Anderson was angry because of Sarah's rudeness, so he quickly apologized.
Director Clark, please forgive me. It's my fault for not managing well and tarnishing the teaching team. But rest assured, I've already reported to the higher-ups to revoke Sarah Miller's teaching qualification.
After saying that, he didn't forget to give Sarah a vicious glare.
Teacher Miller, no wonder your students fail their assessments.
Principal Smith, let's get to the point.
Sarah Miller, considering you're a good friend of Jessica Taylor, I've taken care of you more than usual. But don't get any wrong ideas. Now, in front of Director Clark, explain our relationship.
Wasn't it you, Principal Smith, who texted me, saying you wanted to support me, have me give you a son, and promised to buy me a 2-bedroom apartment?
Sarah Miller. I warn you, don't slander me in front of Director Clark, or I'll sue you for defamation.
Slander? Then what do these suggestive messages you sent me mean? Didn't you publicly say we had deep, late-night soul exchanges?
Hearing Sarah's words, Michael Smith's face turned extremely dark. Now, eager to distance himself from her, he probably regretted sending so many harassing messages, which had now become an obstacle to his ambitions.
Principal Smith, is this true?
No! It's completely slander. I've never said such things, and I have no personal relationship with Sarah Miller. We've never contacted privately.
So, you're saying you and Teacher Miller have never had any entanglements, right?
Right. I swear to it.
Let's not beat around the bush. Write a statement of the situation, sign your name, and remember, it must be truthful, without falsely accusing anyone.
James Anderson handed over the prepared paper and pen. Michael Smith hesitated for a moment, then seemed to understand.
Director Clark, I understand.
He then picked up the pen and wrote 3 full pages, respectfully handing them to James Anderson for review. James Anderson glanced at it and then handed the document to Sarah.
Teacher Miller, check if the situation is accurate.
In the statement, Michael Smith distanced himself from Sarah completely, without mentioning any slander about her pursuing him, only saying his wife was overly suspicious, leading to misunderstandings.
Basically accurate.
She handed the document back to James Anderson.
Director Clark, how about this? I'll go back and get a divorce. But if I stay at the same unit, it might not be good for Jessica. Can you find a suitable opportunity to adjust my job position?
A cadre like you indeed needs a job adjustment.
Before Michael Smith could react, the door behind him suddenly opened, and several people walked in, led by Sarah's dad. Michael Smith knew her dad's reputation and quickly stepped forward to shake hands. Sarah's dad ignored him, leading the group to stand solemnly opposite him. This scene instantly scared Michael Smith.
Michael Smith, your improper conduct, bribery, and allegations of misconduct with female students require your cooperation with the investigation.
Director Clark, this.
Michael Smith was stunned, looking to James Anderson for help. James Anderson ignored him, walking directly to Sarah's dad and smiling.
Today's joint interrogation was effective.
Joint interrogation?
Michael Smith never imagined that what he thought was a shortcut to promotion turned out to be his descent into hell.
Work's done. Let's go home for a family dinner. Lily, your mom called. Dinner's ready.
Okay, Dad.
She replied with a smile, then took James Anderson's arm affectionately.
Uncle, Mom made your favorite boiled shrimp.
Michael Smith was dumbfounded by her calls of Dad and Uncle. On New Year's Eve, with lights shining in every home, their family gathered for a reunion dinner, the atmosphere warm and harmonious. The decision regarding Michael Smith's handling came down without suspense, immediate dismissal. A special investigation team was formed to look into his violations. The investigation team found extensive evidence of Michael Smith's misconduct, including inappropriate relationships with female students, on the memory card from his car's dashcam that Sarah provided. Michael Smith now faced legal consequences. In this prosperous era, may justice prevail and integrity fill the world.